everyone. So 8 months ago, I graduated from the University of Guelph with a Bachelor of Arts in English Literature with distinction. Alright, got a little star next to it. Today I'm going to be doing a Q&A all about my English degree and about English degrees in general, because I know that a lot of people are going to find this valuable. A lot of bookish people are interested in doing English degrees or have done English degrees, so I thought this would be really helpful to a lot of people. The first question that I'm going to answer, I got so many times. The first time I got it, I was like, oh my god, I refuse to answer this question. But then I got it like a million more times, and I was like, I've just got to bite the bullet and answer this question. The question is, what will you be doing with your degree in English? This is a classic question. It's the classic question. Every single English major has heard this question a million times, along with, are you going to be a teacher? Because apparently the only thing we can do with an English degree is become a teacher. This question could be an hour-long video all of its own, so I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole too much here. But let me just say this. I think that there are kind of two types of degrees. There are the kinds of degrees where everyone very clearly understands what the job at the end of it is. Oh, I'm studying architecture. Oh, he's gonna become an architect. I get it. And then there's an entire type of degree that is vague, that doesn't have one specific job at the end of it. And I think that this is where that feeling that maybe an English degree is useless, because we definitely see university as a type of job training because of how expensive it is, because of how long it takes. Why would you go through all of that to not then have a clear job at the end of it? It's a lot more complex than that. And so what I want to say is that an English degree didn't train me for one job. It trained me for a lot of jobs. It taught me how to communicate. But like, really how to communicate. It sounds like such a simple thing, right? But when you actually learn how to do that effectively, it literally changes the way you think. There are a million different places where you can use those skills. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter, because like I said, I could go on about it forever. Next up, someone asked me, what is your favorite area of literature to study, and what is your favorite module you took during your degree? My favorite course ever was one that I took called Literature in the Digital Age, because it took two things that I love, digital, the internet, technology, and it mashed it with English literature, books. Then later on, I took another course in this subject called Digital Writing, where I'm so proud of this essay that I wrote. It was my fourth year final big project, and I wrote this essay about ebooks, and I wrote it as an ebook. So meta. Somebody asked, how is it like being obliged to read so much? And someone else asked, did you enjoy all the books you were asked to read? So these were kind of similar questions, but how do I admit this? No English major in the history of the earth has read all of the books that you're supposed to read. First of all, it's impossible. They just ask you to read too many things. But secondly, a lot of the ones you're going to get assigned suck. They're boring, they're dry, they're not the genre that you like, and you'll give it a shot, but 20 pages in, you're gonna give up. And there's no shame in that, because I think a huge part of what I learned in my English degree was that you don't have to read the whole book. You know, you can skim through it, you can do research about the book to help you understand it, to still get through the course and learn about the themes and learn about the ideas. Another question that quite a few people asked was, how much of a focus is there on creative writing? None. If you want to do creative writing, you have to do a creative writing degree. You're not learning to write great books. You're learning to understand and study great books. So there's a big difference there. I got to take two really fun courses. One was on short stories and one was on poetry, where they were creative writing courses where I wrote lots of poems and wrote lots of short stories. And I really enjoyed those courses, but an English literature degree is not a creative writing degree. Somebody asked, what was your favorite book you read for your degree? This is really hard because, like I said, I read so many books, but two that really stand out. One was Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde. Oh, and I'm so lucky I got to read it twice. Once for a Scottish module and once for a module on aestheticism and decadence. Whew, man, I love that book. I really, truly do love that book. And another book that I read that was phenomenal was Indian Horse by Richard Wagamese. It's such a tragic book, it's such a sad book, but it's really powerful. It talks about residential schools in Canada. I took this one during a Canadian literature module that I had to do, and it really opened my eyes a lot. It's really, really well written. Really recommend both of those. Somebody asked, what was the funniest thing you ended up having a discussion about because of your classes? So this is one of the things I really loved about my English degree. There is no right answer to a book. And because of that, when you discuss a book, everyone is going to have a different opinion about it. And I loved hearing the discussion, and I loved being a part of the discussion. I was one of those kids that always put their hand up. I love talking in class, because that's why you're there, you know? Why would you not want to take part in those discussions? I don't remember what the module was, but we were talking about Dubliners. And there's a short story in Dubliners about a woman who goes to town to run some errands, and she buys a piece of cake. And she goes back home, and everyone's mean to her. So the cake part of the story, not important, really. It's not a huge part of the story, but I could not get it out of my head. I could have written an entire essay about that one piece of cake, because I think that it had a lot of symbolic and metaphoric power in the story. And I just kept talking about the cake, and it literally got to a point where my teacher was like, I think you should move on from that cake. Like, when I was in England in my Shakespeare course, it was Shakespearean tragedies, we were talking about Julius Caesar. Ooh, what a great play. And there's another character that's really tiny. His name is Cinna the Poet, and he is really unimportant to the overall plot. Like, you could have cut a scene and it would have been fine. But I could not get over how interesting I found that character. Every single time we talked about Julius Caesar, I would somehow manage to bring Cinna the Poet into the thing. And it was so irrelevant. But actually, that professor was really interested in my thoughts, because I guess no one had ever obsessed about Cinna the Poet that much before. So somebody asked, what was your fave elective? Which was a really fun part of your degree, because even though the majority of what you do if you're doing an English degree is going to be about English, you also have some electives you can take. So you can take courses that have nothing to do with your degree whatsoever. And two of my favorite courses that I took were, one of them was Modern France since 1750. It was a history course all about France from the French Revolution moving forward. I love history. When I was in high school, I took every history course that I could, and so I took history all throughout my degree. And then the other course I really liked, what was it called? Something like 20th century American art, and it was just looking at art from the States, and I loved it. I loved it so much, because you get to talk about the people that you actually know about, people like Andy Warhol and Jackson Pollock, and I love modern art, so I loved those two courses. And it's really fun that you get to take courses that have nothing to do with your degree. It really helps break up the flow, because taking like 5 English courses at once, that'll drain you real quick. Next up, I have a really interesting question. After studying so many great works, did it make you like the young adult genre less? I'm scared I won't love YA after going for my English degree. It has not diminished my love of YA at all. It's just made the two types of reading experiences really different. I really enjoy YA. It's a huge part of what I read. I think it's such a valuable genre. But when I read it, I'm not looking out for the symbolism of the curtains, you know? I'm not reading it thinking, ooh, that bird symbolizes death. like no, it's just a different reading experience. So when I read YA, it's kind of like an escape for me. It's really fun, it's really like addictive and easy to read, and I just really enjoy it. And when I read classics, I've now, because of my English degree, I've been given all these tools to be able to cut it all up. I love finding metaphors in books and finding themes in books. I absolutely adore it. It's just different types of reading within different genres. So it hasn't ruined my love of YA at all, like not even a little bit. Somebody asked, how do you balance the course reading with personal reading? And sometimes I just couldn't, you know, like you're reading a lot for your degree, and sometimes all you're going to be able to do is read those books, and that's okay. I just want people to stop worrying about reading all the time. Like, just, you read when you can. Somebody asked, what kinds of outside of class things did you focus on to prepare for the job you wanted? So I think extracurriculars are a huge part of doing a degree, because an English degree is an English degree. You know, a lot of people are going to have an English degree, and your extracurriculars can help you understand what things you like, and can help you kind of have some different specifications on your CV or your resume. Two things that were huge to me. One, I was the fiction editor on the on-campus magazine. That was really fun. And two, my YouTube channel. This is a huge thing that I do. It takes up so much of my time, but also it's completely related to my degree. It's all about reviewing literature and talking about books. Somebody asked, are you happy and satisfied with your degree? Is there something you would have done differently? I'm really happy with my degree. I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I loved all my courses. I didn't. There was courses that I hated, and there was a lot of courses that I just found boring. So it wasn't a hatred, it was just like I don't want to go to that class, it's really boring. But there were gems, you know, there were courses that I really loved, and ideas that I learned that will stay with me, and tools that I learned that I love using when I read. When I look back on my degree, I'm really proud of the work that I did. I wrote some essays that I think are really great, like I mentioned that ebook essay I'm really proud of. I wrote an essay, pretty proud of this one, called A Marxist Examination of Lord's Pure Heroine. That's right. I did a whole breakdown of Lord's album from a Marxist point of view. I managed to stay on honor roll almost every single semester, so I'm really happy that I took it. And it's one of the things that makes me really sad when I think of people who are like, oh no, I'm not going to do English because it's a useless degree. It's not useless. It's just not as clear what your job is going to be at the end. That's different. That doesn't mean it's useless. I feel like that's a really great place to end it. So I hope that you guys found this helpful. I'd really love to hear from you guys down in the comments. Have you done an English degree, or are you planning on doing an English degree? I think you should. I really liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one.